there's conversation about how someone said Nipsey told the guy he was a snitch and he walked away. But then there's a news report with a man who says he was there, because everybody's claim to fame was, well, was you there? The news report has a man that says he was there with Nipsey. He just left him a few seconds ago, and then the dude killed him. He said when he was next to Nipsey, the guy introduced himself as a rapper, meaning neither Nipsey or him didn't know who the guy was. But the snitch narrative went out. So when the snitch narrative went out, I simply said, hey, if he's a snitch, then that means favorable concessions have been made onto him by way of the government so that he can be free. So he works for the government. Snitches work for the government. They work in collusion with the government. So how dare you tell me the government's not involved if the narrative is he's a snitch? Now, if he's not a snitch and that information went out, where did that information come from? But be that as it may, now the woman who's the getaway driver, I ain't never heard of a getaway driver not being locked up. I've never heard of a getaway driver, an accomplice is what we would call it, right? Driving, oh shit, I didn't even know that he was out to murder somebody. My bad. Imagine if all the other getaway drivers in the hood were able to say, yo, I didn't even know that the homie was about to body somebody. So you mean to tell me this guy went back in the car all cordially, clean shirt and all? He didn't look like he was a bit distracted or nervous. He didn't say, quick, drive, get out of here. He didn't do none of that. He just walked in the car, made sure his seatbelt was on, told her check your rear view mirror, and let's just drive off. That's what he did. And she didn't have the slightest intimation that he left the car to kill somebody or came back in the car after killing somebody. She gets off. She's free. She's not been detained. She has not been arrested. She has not been accused of a crime. She just didn't know. But that makes sense to y'all. So now it gets even more weird. It gets even more weird. Now when we look at the case, Eric Holder has Chris Darden as his defense attorney. Eric Holder, the gang member, named Shitty. Let's put all this into context now. This is a broke gang member named Shitty. This is a broke gang member named Shitty. This is a broke gang member named Shitty who gets Chris Darden as his defense attorney. Let's just do the research on Chris Darden. He's not a legal aid, family. Because you know, broke gang members, they get legal aids. People that have been accredited as being eyewitness for murders don't even get a $5 million bail. This guy got a $5 million bail. That's just weird in itself. But I mean, we said, man, he ain't gonna be able to afford the $5 million bail. But now I'm questioning that because he has a high profile attorney, because Chris Darden, his defense attorney, happens to be O.J. Simpson's prosecutor. This was one of the prosecutors for O.J. Simpson. When have you ever seen someone in the hood accused of murder who's broke? And then a high profile attorney says, I'm gonna take your case. And you guys would like to believe what? That he's doing this pro bono? I bet you the hood narrative is gonna be this. The hood narrative is gonna be, oh, he's just clout chasing because he ain't had no business in such a long time. Because I know how Negroes just think simple sometimes. So you mean to tell me, with all the various black folks in America that social injustices have been perpetrated against, he couldn't pick any one of them whose stories went nationwide so he can have favor with his own people and really develop his brand? If you want to do something for free, there's a whole bunch of black people nationwide whose stories went nationwide that he can come to the family, come to the aid of the families, come to the accused and say, man, I got your back. But out of all people, a prosecutor from O.J. Simpson's case says, no, I'm going to take this guy that everybody said they saw, shoot this man in his head, shoot him 5 more times in his body, and kick his corpse right after. No, I'm going to defend him for free. Y'all going to really believe that shit? Y'all taking in that story? See, at this point, even if you were saying, yo, there ain't no conspiracy. No, that's black people doing this, that, and the third. How do you explain a high-profile prosecutor from O.J. Simpson's case defending somebody named Shitty, who's broke, who was considered to be seen shooting somebody and murdering them in that particular capacity at that? How do you explain something like that? Y'all still saying, yo, just turn your head, man. Just turn your head, man. It's just black people killing black people. Now it's also black people defending black people who kill black people. That's what we doing. And yes, and look at the optics. I'm gonna tell you how the optics work. White folks is gonna be our knights in shining armor because we're gonna root for the white folks because they're gonna be the prosecutors in this case. They're gonna be the ones looking to incarcerate this person. Okay? The judge probably gonna be white for all we know. So unless the judge is gonna let him be free, then the judge may be black. I'm telling you, you gotta look at the optics. If this black man creates any opportunity for this guy to get less than what he is due, which is the death penalty or hundreds of years, life in prison and all this other stuff, if he does anything that works to the better advantage of this black man, you will still have black people in a state of unrest blaming black people, creating a state of dissension amongst our community. And this is the first time the government hands look so clean. It's just extremely clean. The government's hands is extremely clean. This is the same government, family, that when Martin Luther King got murdered, they had black people walking around saying, man, you know, he was assassinated, man, by white folks. Then you turn around and say, man, he was assassinated, man, by black people. You see that? Black people killed him. Then years go by, and guess what happens? Dr. King's family won against the United States, proving that the United States worked a conspiracy to kill that man and spread false narratives throughout the media. All you gotta do is look it up. Dr. King's family won the lawsuit. Dr. King's family won against the United States because it was fact proven that America put out a false narrative by way of the media about his murder, and we didn't find out about this until years later, and many of you to this day still don't know yourselves that this is a historical fact. So when you hear people like myself speaking from a reference, let me say it like this. When you hear people like myself not trust the circumstances that surround Nipsey Hussle's murder, it's because I'm speaking from historical points of reference, because I am not talking about something that has not been done before here in America. For Fred Hampton's case, you got to remember, the police had a search warrant for Fred Hampton. They said Fred was shooting at him. When you look at the direction of the bullets, you find out that that was a lie. They shot galore. Then you find out later that they planted somebody to set up Fred Hampton. Okay? You got to take all these different things into consideration before you just start saying, man, it's just black on black crime. You got to remember, the FBI put out their first agent, the first black agent. Okay? Agent Zero, the first black agent, was commissioned to spy on Marcus Garvey, be part of his organization, and understand the workings, the inner workings of his organization. And then they made it look like he was committing fraud, so much so that Marcus Garvey attempted to kill himself not once but twice because his own people turned against him. And now today, because of the Freedom of Information Act, we're able to access this information, but the people that are able to access it don't give a hell because they don't have no knowledge of self. They don't have no knowledge of self. So the people that are able to access the information today are the same people that's telling us, man, that's just black on black crime, because they're ignorant, because they have no knowledge of self. Y'all want more information about how I'm speaking from historical context and historical reference points? I'm not just making this stuff up in my head. People are coming up with this word conspiracy theory, even when you're pushing forward facts. That's what's weird about people. Like, they're saying conspiracy theory while you're saying factual things. I'm saying the driver did not get locked up. The getaway driver always gets locked up. When have you ever known a getaway driver for a murder to not get locked up? When have you ever heard of that? Y'all from the hood, right? Getaway drivers, no. getaway drivers.